I'm proud to welcome you to a special series of the Exceptional Advisor podcast. Over the next several weeks, this special series will highlight exceptional advisors in these extraordinary times. We hope this series helps you to better serve your clients, differentiate yourself from the competition, and enhance your ability to communicate those differences in light of the unique challenges and emerging norms of the current times. Hi, I'm Bob Powell. I serve as the editor of the Institute's Retirement Management Journal, as well as the editor of The Street's Retirement Daily. My guest today is Andrew Altfest, President and Principal Advisor of Altfest Personal Wealth Management. So, welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
It's nice to be here with you, Bob.
Likewise. So, before we get started, let's spend a moment with you telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and your practice.
Sure. So, I'm president of Altfest Personal Wealth Management. We are a RIA in Midtown Manhattan, about 40 employees. We manage around $1.3 billion, primarily for high net worth individuals, and we offer comprehensive financial planning for all of our clients. And I've been an advisor for about 17 years now. I'm also president and founder of a new software company called FP Alpha that was just launched in February at the T3 conference. And so working on a lot of fun and great things.
We'll talk more about FP Alpha later in the podcast, but just for a moment, I have met your mother and father along the way, and it would be interesting if you could just spend a couple of minutes just talking about I wouldn't know if you would describe it as a family-run or family-owned business, but your father and mother both have a legacy too. That's worth noting, no?
Yeah. So my father started Altfest Personal Wealth Management way back in 1983, and he was one of the early fee-only advisors. I remember hearing stories from him about how if you worked on a fee basis in the early 80s, people would ask you how you're going to make a living. But he was an early pioneer and one of the founding members of the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, which began in 1983. And my mother, Karen, is a prominent financial advisor as well, and she joined the firm several years after my father started it, and has been very instrumental to the growth of the firm. And she has a very strong passion working with and empowering women. And so I'm second generation financial advisor. I grew up as around the business. I think the first time I was working in the business, I was 14 years old. I've done everything in the business. I've rotated throughout the business from investments to operations to marketing to client advising, of course. And I have a real respect and passion for the business and continuing the legacy that my parents started, and making sure that our business and our profession is flourishing for many, many years to come.
Well, obviously the pandemic has changed much, but perhaps in some ways it hasn't changed all that you've done. I'm curious, here we are still in the midst of a global pandemic. No firm was perhaps fully prepared for this pandemic, but many firms had to pivot and to operate in a remote environment with their workers working from home, and they're obviously having to deal with clients who couldn't come to the office anymore. So could you talk a little bit about how the firm responded to what happened and the steps you took both operationally and with many of your clients?
Yeah, sure. So this has really been a test in agility, and whatever you were planning to do in January, you've had to completely shift. And if you just look at the stock market right now, you look at the companies that are the winners this year. The tech companies have been the best performers, and whereas the brick and mortar stores are going out of business. So we've all had to be thinking about our technology investment and how to communicate and grow our firm digitally. And it's been a big contrast from what we saw in 2009. In 2009, we had almost no client attrition, but we also had limited new client growth. People were frozen and they weren't taking action. But now in 2020, if you compare and contrast, we've made big investments in digital marketing, and the investments that we've made have really borne fruit. And so we have been out there. We've gotten in front of many, many new clients, and we have been investing with utilizing the leads that we already have, the people who've come to our events, the people who've communicated with us in the past, and put out a lot of new content. And it's been very important for us to partner with centers of influence and influencers who have real influence to a particular group. And so we've been putting on webinars in partnership with other people. We have been reaching them through, we utilize a program called HubSpot, which tracks engagement. And we have been advertising through Facebook to drive people to our events. And so we really need to be today where our clients are. They're available digitally. And we've had to adjust very quickly. And we started off when the markets were declining, setting out as a firm to prevent clients from making mistakes. We really had to understand where our clients were coming from in this environment. So we have had a couple of educational sessions with a financial psychologist, because we recognize, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that we don't know everything. And in terms of how our clients are seeing things today, we wanted to bring in an outside expert to get a different point of view and take off our financial advisor hat and really understand better where people were in terms of their general well-being. And we had to quickly process new information about the CARES Act, about PPP loans, about the markets and drastic changes in the markets. And then we had to come up with new forms of communication, both to our clients, to prospective clients, and to our team, just internally, how we're communicating. And so the investments that we've made to be a virtual firm have really paid off in this environment. And I'm very much proud of our team.
Let me go back to digital marketing. You seem to take advantage of this time to both acquire clients and also to retain and perhaps expand the relationship that you have with your existing clients. Did you have a different approach with respect to acquiring clients, and why is it that you thought that this would be a good time to be marketing to acquire new clients?
I think it's because a lot of people need help, and there are a lot of people in this environment who need help. And so when you have such large financial changes, we were hearing from people, let's say business owners. We work with plenty of small business owners whose businesses were shut down and they couldn't operate. And so we knew that we needed to quickly become very knowledgeable in the CARES Act, in PPP loans, and that these people were looking for advice. And then beyond that, we set out a whole communication plan where we've had series of webinars, email content being sent out to people around whether they should refinance, about tax reduction opportunities in this environment, about investment opportunities in this environment. So we've we took a look at it. I think there's a lot of experimenting that you do with any type of digital marketing, and you have to be willing to change. And that's what we've learned. You have to be willing to shift with the environment. And so we put on a webinar on the CARES Act, and we had 150 prospective clients on that webinar. So that told us that we were on the right track. And so we just continued to invest in webinars, and have had a huge amount of engagement, and lots of people who come out of those webinars wanting to have consultations with us. So I think we know as financial advisors, I think we know what's on the minds of people. I think we have to, I think it changes. I think it's changing again today. And I think we also know what should be on the minds of people who are revisiting their finances now. And so we also have the opportunity to be leaders and to set the agenda. And when we do that, we get a lot of interest.
Right. Okay. So obviously this was, I'm sure you had a business continuity plan in place. How was it tested? How well were you prepared from a continuity perspective?
Yeah, there's that Mike Tyson quote where everyone has a plan except when they get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And we were working remotely before this. We had employees who were working a couple of days a week out of the office from home. So we have a huge investment in general in technology. And so we have lots of cloud-based systems, and we had a well-functioning remote workplace plan, and we made sure that everyone was comfortable using the technology. And so that wasn't, the technology has held up well, and actually we found that people are more productive out of the office than they are in the office.
I believe that to be true. Yeah.
We've all had experience with that now. Right. And so I think it wasn't the technology side. The technology side's been working very well. Where we've had to learn is we've had to learn how to engage our clients remotely, how to engage our team remotely, how to work with new clients remotely, like we just talked about. And so that's really where the learning curve has been. Technology is not going to do that for you. Right. So we've really had to shift to be a virtual firm, and our learning has come in terms of how to engage everyone, all audiences, virtually.
Yeah. So what were the critical tech offerings, solutions that you and your team found the most essential during this time?
I think this environment is kind of like, reminds me of when I was a waiter after high school. For one summer, I waited tables before college, and sometimes you'd be sitting there and there'd be a couple of tables that you're covering, and it would be quiet, and you'd just be standing there, and you'd have plenty of time. And then other times, a group of 30 would show up, and it would be pure chaos running from the table to the kitchen. So right now, it's been more pure chaos in terms of you have so many clients who are reaching us, clients who want to be engaged with their finances, who have time to be engaged with their finances, who are available. And so we've had to use technology to be able to deliver the type of client experience that we want to deliver. And certainly the technology that we're using that's really helpful now is our rebalancing software, just the level of trading, and being able to recognize each individual's portfolio and how to trade it individually in an efficient manner. So if I have a client who wants to keep 8 stocks and has a certain tax situation, and also has a percentage of their portfolio allocated to our sustainable strategy, how do you if you're looking to make changes in that portfolio, how do you do that quickly and efficiently? And that's where technology has really helped out. But also the hyper personalization of working with clients. And so if I'm working with a business owner client and I want to talk to that client about the relief programs, and if I'm working with a retiree and I want to talk to that client about why they don't need to take RMDs this year and about opportunities around Roth conversions, then the only way to deliver that one-on-one personalized, what I call hyper-personalized client experience is by leveraging technology. And that's where FP Alpha, the technology that we created and is now available throughout the market to all advisors, has really come in handy, because it's allowed us to, because we have our clients' information, we have their information already, we can use that information to pinpoint the advice that is suitable, relevant to a particular client. And we launched that software in February, and we had to quickly pivot, of course, as well, because of the environment we're in. But that's really where technology has helped. It's allowed us to deal with the incredible volume of work that has come about as a result of being in this environment.
Mm. So I do want to dive deeper into FP Alpha, but first I want to ask you about this notion of remote working, and now that it's become the norm and seems to be working well for many people, but there's a criticism that still seems to remain, which is that it's much more difficult for teams to collaborate. I'm not sure if you've found that to be true or not, and if so, how you've addressed it.
Bob, I really don't find that to be the case. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we've had fewer meetings. We have more people available. People are more reachable. Our team is more reachable now. And I think this has been an environment in that we've had the opportunity to test lots of things that we've held to be sacred. And for example, in the past, if there was a belief that people wouldn't be as productive at home, or there wouldn't be as much collaboration, we've found that our employees are more productive at home. And so sometimes it takes an unfortunate setting to really evaluate and understand what's true and what's a perception that might not be true.
Well, that's good to hear. I have a feeling that that would be the case at your firm. Do you anticipate making any changes to your business model going forward, given what you've learned throughout this pandemic and throughout whatever changes you've made during this period?
Yeah, I think we are definitely making changes, and the personal in-person side of the business, what is something that we believe was a big differentiator. And certainly, this is a very personal business, and the personal side is a differentiator. But the in-person interaction that we had before, we're not having. We can't have that today. So in some ways, we are all virtual advisors. We're all robo advisors, and I actually just signed a very significant client, and this client was on the West Coast, and they were meeting with lots of firms, and we were the only non-West Coast firm they were meeting with. And they during their process, they reached out and said, Andrew, we like you, but unfortunately, we have a lot of firms we're working with, and we have to narrow down. We have to call the list in some way, and so we're gonna focus on West Coast firms. And then the pandemic happened. Then everyone became a virtual advisor. It didn't matter if we're on the West Coast or if we're in New York, and they became more comfortable communicating digitally. And we ended up signing those clients. And so that's an example of how technology is really leveling the playing field, by location. At the same time, though, we have robo-advisors who are offering virtual CFPs for $30 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so the basic financial planning, the retirement planning, the investment management, it's under pressure, and there's a perception that that's being commoditized. And the way that we see ourselves as a premium wealth management firm, and that we offer so much more value than the robos. And so we are very much focused on financial planning, not 1.0, which is that basic planning, but 2.0, which is total comprehensive planning for our clients, helping them with their estate planning and tax planning and insurance planning, lending, and all the areas of comprehensive planning that they're asking for help with. And we're happy to provide that help. But what's needed is the ability to provide these services very efficiently. And we, because clients are engaging with us digitally now, there's been a real uptick in the amount of digital engagement that they've had using our private client website, communicating through video conference, etc. Because there's so much more engagement digitally, we have even more information about them. And so we can take that information and we can turn that into action. And that's really where we're invested. We're invested in being able to be a premium wealth management firm as a significant differentiator, offering all of these services. And we have to do that while gaining scale, and that's where technology comes in. And of course that has been the reason behind building FP Alpha to help with that. So that is a big movement for us in the future. And of course, there's also a big shift to digital marketing. I mean, just think about the difference between having a webinar and an in-person event. I can get out of bed on a Monday morning, decide to have a webinar on a Friday, produce an amazing webinar with high attendance, and I could never do that by running an in-person event. We used to run plenty of in-person events throughout the year, which were costly to produce, took a lot. You had to deal with logistics. It just wasn't easy at all. And then we're going to be offering a lot more flexibility around working remotely going forward as well. And there's a huge opportunity there. There's new things that need to be learned. I mean, as we think about and as we reopen our office in Manhattan, now we have to learn to train remote advisors, and we have to learn how to have people at the office and people remotely at the same time. And still, so right now everyone's pushed digitally. Now it's going to be a combination of people in the office, people working remotely. So there's still more that needs to be that we'll be learning and navigating, but there's going to be a lot more flexibility in general from working from home.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your clients and how they're doing with either respect to their emotional well-being, their health, and I guess how they're doing financially, and chat a little bit about that.
Sure. I find that clients are anxious now. They're concerned about their incomes, their health, their family health and well-being. And then now a lot of people are disturbed about the headlines that they're seeing. And so clients they're scared, and that's why we're here for them. We're here to listen, not to speak right away, but to really listen and understand where they're coming from. And every client becomes part of our family at Altfest. We really try to foster a sense of community and family at our firm, and that's certainly a strong proposition that we offer.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of communicating, you've touched on how you've been communicating with them. I take it, is everyone fond of video conferencing, or have you had to figure out what someone's preference is, whether it's video conferencing, traditional teleconference, email, et cetera? And how has that changed over the pandemic era?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely that's what we do. We customize, and so the people who still want mail, the people who want to meet with us in person at a restaurant casually versus coming into our office. Those are all the things that we are in the business of doing, meeting their particular needs, understanding their needs, and meeting their needs. Now, that is not that is not possible to have the in-person meetings right now. But those that are community, most people are comfortable communicating through video conference. They're doing it with their family, through work, and for those people who are not, we're having phone calls with them. And I think what we're going to find is that they're going to be more home visits going forward. We're going to be going to people's making house calls, maybe perhaps outside on their porch, keeping a safe social distance. But I think there's going to be even more visits to our clients' residences going forward, as some people will choose not to still want the in-person, but choose not to actually visit our office. So we're constantly thinking about how our communication is going to evolve. But right now, there's been a big push to digital and willingness to participate, and I think now we're going to see how it's going to shift further from here, which is going to be some type of hybrid approach, and will be very client specific.
Fascinating to think that the day and age of home visits, which was sort of a staple for many years, is now coming back as what is old is new again. And so.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your clients are a bit nervous about the current environment. Obviously, the market has been volatile, and I'm curious, have you and your team made any changes to your client investment strategies, more fixed income, shorten the yield curve, guaranteed income products, less risk, more dividends? What kind of changes have you made there, if any?
Yeah, we've been very active. So first, just about us, we're value-oriented investors. And so going into this year, we were very defensively positioned. And so we felt the markets had moved up significantly without a similar move in the profitability of companies. And so we were more defensive. We were utilizing options to hedge positions. We had minimal exposure to cyclical investments. So we had positions within healthcare, for example. And then when the markets sold off, and things became more attractive, and so we took a position. We took many positions, but we started exposure to the energy sector. We increased our exposure to technology. We took a position in small value, and we were purchasing non-agency mortgages. And today we have an inflation position that we consider a tail risk position. But now that prices have moved back up, we've had a 40% move up in the markets in the last few months. 4 years of stock market growth in just a few months. We're again becoming more defensively positioned, and we really follow the value.
Mm-hmm. So, any thoughts about the fixed income market and use of guaranteed income products in an environment like this, at least for some segment of your clients, retirees or pre-retirees?
We're not using guaranteed income today. We for the we keep it in mind for the right person. However, I think with interest rates so low in this environment, um, and and also with people's own preferences, we don't find many opportunities for guaranteed um, for guaranteed income.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's part of, interest rates are just so low right now, and we are finding some good yield opportunities in some select areas, like I mentioned, non-agency mortgages, and then there's also emerging market debt. But for the most part, I think we're trying to manage uh, portfolios and create income when income in an environment in which interest rates are very low, and that's causing us to really rethink our bond exposure. And we've certainly created another category called alternatives, but very specific alternatives, many of which are income producing and very attractive in the amount of income that they offer. So we've really had to roll with the opportunities in this environment, and in one of which is just how low interest rates are.
Right. So when you think about the pandemic coupled with market conditions, how has it affected your clients in various life stages, next gen, retirees, mid-career, and what services seem to resonate with the different groups?
Yeah, so this is really important because people have different needs, and younger people might be interested in, let's say, if you're working with healthcare professionals, you might be working with a physician who has a lot of student debt. And if you're working with an older client, let's say that they're interested in estate planning, or it's time to refinance their mortgage. And we really need to be able to meet all of the needs of all clients out there, not just one need that they have, but if you really want to work with them extensively, and have the best chance of bringing them on as clients and keeping them as happy, engaged clients, we find that we have to meet all of their needs. But how are you going to? The question is, how do you meet the needs of different audiences when they're so varied? And let's say that younger client is not paying you a lot of money, and that's where we have created software that allows us to practice comprehensively and take a comprehensive approach to financial planning. And so that was one of the reasons behind creating FP Alpha, that allows us to, with minimal additional time, be able to tackle many more areas of planning that are specific to different audiences, like, let's say, tax reduction or insurance planning is important to the next gen client, whereas estate planning is important to the pre-retiree or retiree.
Yeah. So let's turn our attention to FP Alpha for a minute. You mentioned that you launched this tool. It uses AI learning combined with special subject matter experts to create a planning tool that helps advisors create comprehensive offerings to their clients. Can you give us a deeper dive into this and why it's so critical for advisors and clients, and how has it been received so far?
Yeah, so we built this tool because as we were expanding into more areas of financial planning that our clients were asking us for, well beyond the basic retirement planning, we were finding ourselves building checklists and spreadsheets within estate planning and tax planning and insurance planning, and asking our advisors to read wills and trusts and insurance policies and tax returns, and that there was just no way to scale this activity. Sure, if you want to offer it to your largest client, great. But if you want to be able to offer this much more broadly, there's no way to scale. So we built the software to be able to efficiently produce recommendations, and we use advanced technology like artificial intelligence to be able to do really cool things, like you can upload a client's will or revocable trust, and that information will be extracted using artificial intelligence, and to pull that information, and then we combine it with the brains of over 40 subject matter experts who have worked on building the algorithms that are within the software. And so in other words, you have 40 people, attorneys, accountants, and insurance brokers, mortgage brokers, who are looking at every client situation that you have and finding the best planning opportunities for those clients. And so we really need, as advisors, a very clear differentiator. We want to help clients, and FP Alpha allows us to do that. It allows us to engage our clients. It allows us to get credit for the work that we're already doing, because we can actually show clients the planning experience and quantify the value of the advice. We can use it to bring on prospective clients and make build trust early and shorten the sales cycle, because we understand their needs with minimal information by utilizing the software. And we're really able to drive a full comprehensive experience and do it while saving significant time. So that's FP Alpha in a nutshell. We've been very pleased with the reception that we've got. It's been very humbling. We've gotten great reviews from Bob Veras, Joel Bruckenstein, and Gavin Spitzner, and we have users who are using our product. We've gotten in the hands of many advisors, and so who are helping us shape the vision for the software from here as well. So it's been it's been great so far, and the software is really in its infancy. We have really exciting plans going forward for the software. So we're really hoping that this is going to be a game changer for our industry. It's going to be something that I see it as my legacy within the financial planning profession. And we started the conversation with asking about my parents, who were early fee-only advisors in the profession, and I see this as my legacy, and I want to make a positive contribution, just like they did, and so it's exciting times.
Well, I haven't taken it for a test drive, but it does sound like one of a kind compared to what I know is on the marketplace today. So good luck with that. Yeah,
thanks, Bob. I appreciate it, and happy to give you a test drive as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm intrigued. So let's sort of think about, I guess, a couple things. One is the sort of the lessons that you've learned about your business, your practice, and your clients during this period. And then secondly, and perhaps even more importantly, is, what message do you have for perhaps young advisors for whom this might be the first time they've ever gone through such a challenging time, both for themselves, their practices, and their clients?
Yeah, so I think that this is what I've learned is that we all need to be more digitally enabled. And so we need to be more like Amazon and less like JCPenney. And people are more willing to engage digitally now. And so there's a tremendous opportunity that's in front of us. And we've really thought and learned from this experience about the best ways to communicate digitally and how to do that efficiently and get an audience. And information that's shared with clients could be shared with prospects. Information that's shared with our staff could also be shared with prospects. We had a blog that just came out of our internal investment commentary that we just launched recently. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity to engage people digitally now, and also to just be more productive, because we've learned about productivity in this environment, and then because clients are willing to increasingly participate digitally, we know more and more about them, that they're turning over their finances to us, being more comfortable working with us digitally, and that information can be turned into action, and turned into comprehensive financial planning that meets all of their needs while saving a significant amount of time and really keeps us flourishing for many years to come, while still keeping the personal touch. So I think there's a great opportunity for people who are entering the business, are approaching their plans going forward, and taking a fresh look at things to recognize the trends in our business and capitalize on those trends. And I would encourage people, as they're setting the course of the business, to understand and honor the past of our profession, and but not be afraid to make changes, just like we've all had to make changes in this environment, but be willing to practice in a future forward-thinking way. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for all of us, and that we're going to, as a profession, kick robo-advisors to the curb. And so I think it's very exciting, and I think that I would encourage people to look at the environment and set their path accordingly.
Well, Andrew, I really want to thank you for being on the podcast today. But before I go, is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to touch on, or anything that we've covered that you want to reemphasize before we wrap up?
No, I think we've had a good conversation, and I've enjoyed it, Bob. So I appreciate the questions, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew. It's been a real pleasure, and I think our listeners will really benefit from your insight, your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. So thank you.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of our special series, Exceptional Advisors in Extraordinary Times. If you've enjoyed this podcast, then don't miss our Exceptional Advisor webinar series, hosted by Tony Davidow, available at investmentsandwealth.org. Stay up to date and have the latest episode delivered straight to you by subscribing through iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Institute stands ready to help you as you navigate these turbulent times with new resources, research, programs, accommodations for candidates, and certificates. For more details on resources available, visit www.investmentsandwealth.org. The Institute is a professional association, advanced education provider, and standards body for financial advisors, investment consultants, financial planners, and wealth managers who embrace excellence and ethics. Through our events, continuing education courses, and acclaimed certifications, which include the Certified Investment Management Analyst, Certified Private Wealth Advisor, and Retirement Management Advisor certifications, we deliver Ivy League and practical education for investment and wealth professionals. The Investments and Wealth Institute has been helping investment and wealth professionals become exceptional advisors for over 30 years. Please visit us at our website, investmentsandwealth.org, to learn more about our certifications, conferences, online learning, and continuing education programs.